Hi everyone, welcome to this video. Rose here from Minerva, and today's video will be all about my top tailoring patterns and their perfect fabric picks. Before I start, I just want to quickly mention the Minerva community. The Minerva community is an amazing supportive network of crafters, makers and sewers who share what they make, share the fabrics and the patterns they use, and also say about their own tips and tricks. If you haven't already, you can join the Minerva community by creating a free account. Please do share what you make with us. If you use any of the patterns in this video or the fabrics, then share and tag me because I'd love to see them. All fabrics and patterns mentioned in this video you will find in the description box. So yeah, please do share what you make, and if you have any questions, pop them in the comment sections and we'll get back to you. So the patterns we've got today for the top tailoring patterns are the McCall's M7838, the Simplicity 9241 and the Vogue V1870. And we're going to start with the McCall's M7838. This pattern is classed as an easy pattern and it comes in sizes 6 to 14. There's 4 different styles to this pattern, and there's the sleeve variations that make it the different styles. View A is short sleeved and it has like these draped sleeves. View B is puff sleeves. View C is like these half bishop style puff sleeves with cuffs. And view D are these flared sleeves with ribbon or bows around the arm. I've chosen this as a top tailoring pattern because there's a few things you can do to make it fit to you like as a tailored garment would. And also because the sleeves are so unique, you could also change parts of the sleeves to make it fit what you want. So quite simply, you know, view D's got the bows around it, you could just remove the bows if you didn't want it. View A, those lovely short draped sleeves, you could lengthen, you know, make them really dramatic. And say view C, if you didn't like the sort of puff mid sleeve there, you could just remove it and just create a long sleeve with a wider cuff. Also, the fit of the garment, it has 2 bust darts. You may find that depending on your size, you need to adjust those darts, so you need to make them longer or shorter or move them up and down. So that again is another tailoring aspect to this pattern. The first fabric I've chosen for this pattern is the Rosen Poplin fabric. It's made from 100% cotton and it's a lightweight fabric. It's non-stretch and it's woven, so as you can see, no stretch. Really nice, just as a poplin should be. Now the pattern, as you can see, is zebras, and they're black zebras. The colour isn't like a bright white, it's more of an off-white, so it's a bit softer than say a really stark white, and it matches the black zebra pattern really quite well. What you could use this for is say mixing up the pattern with say a plain fabric. So for example, if you did view C, you could put this on the puffy parts of the sleeve and have a plain cotton for the main body, or vice versa. I would mix it up with say the black, perhaps put a black collar on instead. You could really play around with combinations of this material and a plainer poplin material. I think it's a nice minimal fabric, it's not too fussy, it is quirky, so if you're looking for a shirt that's going to stand out, then this makes a really great combination. The next fabric we have is the Manura Core range satin crepe fabric. Now it's a satin, so it does have a shine, does have a sheen, it catches the light lovely, and that drape is really flowing. It's classed as a medium weight fabric, so it's slightly thicker than say a chamois or another crepe fabric. But I think for elements like on view A, where you have the drapey sleeves, this fabric will work really well. You want a sharp needle when you're sewing with this fabric, because if you have a blunt one, it's going to catch in those threads and it's going to pucker, and it will ruin the fabric. Of course, 100% polyester means that there's a little ironing because it does not crease, which is always a plus when you're sewing. Like I mentioned, the drape of this fabric is really pretty. It's a heavier weight drape, but it still has a nice amount of flow to it. It's a plain fabric, it's got no pattern like the zebra poplin fabric that we had. If you were going to use this fabric for this pattern, personally I would get some self-covering buttons and create the buttons with matching fabric. I just think that would tie it in quite nicely. Of course, because it's a satin and it's a drapey with flowing material, if you were doing view D, where you've got the big wide open flowy sleeves, this would work really well because it's going to drape and flow really quite nicely. And lastly for this pattern we have a Minerva Core range poplin fabric. So we've had a pattern fabric and we've had a special fabric, and I've chosen a poplin fabric because I think this lends itself well to some of the architectural elements of the blouse. For example, on view D, where you've got the bows and the flounces, this is going to hold the shape of the bows really well. If you're using view A with the draped sleeves, this is going to create a stiff and crisp drape. On view C, where you have those puffy parts, that's going to hold the gathers really quite nicely as well. So this really is an all-round nice fabric to use for all of the styles, and you could really have some fun with, say, embellishments as well. That's made from 100% cotton. It's a non-stretch and non-woven material, so again it's perfect for this pattern. I have it here in beige, but it does come in a few other colours. It's of similar structure and feel as the Rosen poplin that we had earlier, but it's just a plain material, plain colour. Like I said, it's lightweight, it's breathable, it comes in different colours, so if you did want to use the Rosen zebra print poplin, you can find this in the matching colour in either the black or the white to use as those contrasting elements. Because it's a crisp fabric, it's going to hold those darts really nicely as well, so that's worth taking into account. It's an affordable fabric, so if you wanted to make a mock-up beforehand, then you can use this material quite well. So if you did want to use a different material but wanted to try it out first, good basic to have in your stash. What most people think of when you say you're tailoring is like a suit jacket or something a bit more complicated, but tailoring can be anything that will adjust a garment or a pattern to fit a person's size or requirements. It could be something simple like taking up sleeves, because some patterns may have longer sleeves, you might need to take them up. It could be rearranging the bust darts, so that they fit better, or just changing the complete pattern and making sure that it fits you how you want. It's important when you're making a tailored garment, if you are adjusting patterns, is to make a mock-up or a twill. Now, what you don't want to do is take your best fabric, go in with 2 feet and make a garment only to find that it's not fitting you how you want to and that you've wasted that main fabric. So always make a mock-up and a tool at the pattern first. I personally use calico. I think it's just a nice affordable option, and if you don't like it you can recycle it at the end of the day. But yes, always make a mock-up. It's always better to measure twice and cut once. I've chosen the next 2 patterns as top tailoring because I think they fit the brief for what a tailored garment should be, and there's a lot more options to change these patterns to fit the person who's going to be wearing them. The pattern we're starting with is a Simplicity 9241. This pattern is a male suit pattern and trousers, and there's a few extra things you will need for this pattern, like shoulder pads, buttons and interfacing. Now this pattern is an intermediate pattern, so it's definitely worth getting a bit of experience with sewing garments before you jump in with this pattern. It's a fitted jacket and it has 2-piece sleeves and peaked lapels. I always think 2-piece sleeves are a nice element for a tailored jacket rather than just a 1-piece sleeve. It also has back vents, front and back pockets on the trousers, and they have a slightly tapered look. The bits of tailoring this pattern could be the length of the shoulder. You may find that once the shoulder pads are put in, it's too long or it's too short, so you'll need to adjust that on your pattern and create the right length. Simple things like taking up the sleeves, making them shorter, or taking up the trouser legs to make them shorter. You could also shorten the length, the hem of the jacket as well. When you are adjusting these, make sure that you pay attention to the instructions on the pattern, because you will see there will be bits that say shorten here or lengthen here. If you did just take up the hem of the jacket, you'll find that the back vents will be made shorter, and that's not always the best way to do it. So pay attention to what the instructions are on the jacket. I'm going to start with the pattern fabric for this pattern, and here we have the Atellier Brunette Loom Linen Viscose Blend fabric. Now it's made from 50% viscose and 50% linen. It has a medium weave, so it's not a close weave and it's not a very large weave, so it's a lovely fabric to sew with. I have it here in the dark colour, and this one is like a midnight navy blue with cream, rust, red and yellow stripes on it. It's like a broken striped pattern really. It's classed as geometric. Depending on how you want your garment to look, you could have the stripes going that way up the jacket, or them going to the side. Because remember, you've got the 2 grain lines, so yeah, it's really depends on what you want in the pattern. It's a soft material, of course it's linen, and it's got a nice crisp to it. It's got a nice textured sort of structure to it. So it does make it easy to sew with. You'll find that it won't slip or slide when you're sewing with this material. The next material we have is the Minerva Core range heavy Burlington fabric. I have it here in light blue, but it does come in a range of different colours. It's made from 100% polyester, it's non-stretch and it's woven, so there's no stretch there whatsoever. It's going to be perfect for this material, this pattern. It does have a nice drape and flow to it, so for use on the trousers it's a very good option. And because it's lovely and affordable and it comes in different colours, this would be perfect to try out the pattern with as a mock-up before you commit to another fabric. It's an all-round fabric. Again, it's another fabric that would be perfect just to have in your stash. If you wanted to try something out with maybe, that needs a little bit more drape, then this is a great fabric to use. And last but not least for this pattern, we have one of my favourite fabrics, and it is the Minerva Core range 8-well corduroy fabric. Now I love corduroy. I think it's a brilliant fabric. I would put it up there with denim fabric really. It's just a staple. It's one that just lends itself to so many different garments, and because it has like this textured soft feel to it, it works really well for like suit jackets and trousers. Now this is made from cotton and it's a non-stretch woven material, so as you can see. Now the cord means that it has a nap, so you may want to buy extra material when you're making anything with corduroy really, is to make sure that you can put all the pattern pieces in the same direction and the naps all going in the same way. It's a medium weight fabric. It has a strong, stiff, crisp texture to it. As you can see, it just sort of stands up by itself. It doesn't fall over or anything. So it's going to be perfect for the jacket. Perhaps a little less so for the trousers, but that doesn't mean that you can't use it for the trousers either. And being cord and being a textured fabric, it has a nap. So you need to make sure that when you're buying this material, you get maybe a little bit extra, so that you can match the nap. Make sure all your pattern pieces are going in the same direction. This is a female suit pattern, so we've had the male pattern and now we've got the female pattern. It's a 2-piece pattern, so it's got a blazer and trousers. The blazer has some really quite nice elements to it. It's got shoulder pads, it's got princess seams, it's got 2-piece sleeves, it's got a non-working back vent, flat pockets, welted pockets, buttons. It's got everything chucked in there really. It is seen as an advanced pattern, so it's definitely worth giving it a couple of tries just to make sure that you get the fit completely right. Now the trousers have a high-waisted look and they're also flared as well. They've got front seams and they've got a button closure and a zip closure. The detail of the trousers is the front stitch seam. I think that's a really nice tailored element to this pattern. It's a little bit different, you don't really see it. You see the creases, you know, you see creases in trousers, but you don't necessarily see the front seam actually stitched. So I think that's a good detail to play around with as well. It's got a contoured waistband, it's got a hook and bar closure and a zip closure. And also the legs are wide and flared. You'll need a lining for this fabric, so you could use like a crepe or a satin, and you'll also need light to medium weight interfacing. And a few other things that you need as well, so be sure to check the back of the pattern for more information. The first fabric I have paired with the Vogue V1870 is the Minerva Core range wool crepe fabric. As the name suggests, it's made from 100% wool, and it's a crepe fabric, so it's got that characteristic texture in the material, as you'll see in the close-up. Now it has a nice drape to it. It's a medium to heavyweight material, so it's got some body to it, but the drape is actually quite soft in my opinion. Being a wool, it's not at all scratchy or harsh. It's a very soft material. It's going to be lovely against your skin. And for a lining, I would line this with a satin, just for, you know, a little extra bit of texture really. I mean, this is a matte appearance fabric. On the inside, if you had the satin, it just adds a little bit of luxurious feel to it. There's a good range of colours in this material, so I have it here in like the aubergine, which is a nice dark purple. Now because it's sort of a, like I mentioned, a heavy sort of weighted drape, it's going to be perfect for the trousers, but it's also got enough body to hold its shape for the blazer, especially if you put the interfacing in as well. The next fabric we have is the Minerva Core range textured linen fabric. It's made from 45% cotton and 55% linen. It's got an open weave, it's quite a large weave material, as hopefully you can see in the close-up. Being open weave, it does mean that it frays quite easily, so you will need to make sure that you seam finish all your seams. Whether you do that with a zigzag stitch or an overlocker, or you have a different method of seam finishing, it's important to do that for every seam that you sew. It's a medium weight material, but it's not as, say, heavy as the previous material we have, but it still has quite a nice crisp to it. It's not as flowy, drapey as the previous material, but even so, you know, it's got a lovely structure. It's going to work really well for both the trousers and the blazer. There's a lovely range of colours for this material, and as it's a linen and a cotton mix, it's very, very breathable. I mean, that open weave also does make it quite airy. The texture, as you can see, it's quite a nice texture. It's not a soft material, but it's also not rough and harsh against your skin. And the crisp of it, the feel of it, you can see it's going to hold, you know, that front seam that we have on the trousers. This is going to hold that really quite well. It's going to make a statement of that. So it's a perfect pattern pairing really for this pattern. And last but not least for this pattern and this video, we have the Atellier Cotton Gabardine fabric. Now this is made from 100% cotton. It's a real sturdy material. I mean, the last two materials we had were more medium weight. This is definitely a heavyweight. It's lovely, it's crisp, it's of good, strong, sturdy appearance. I have it here in green, and it's a really lovely deep green. It does have two sides, this fabric. You will see that one side has that twill structure and the other less so, but one side is also softer, so it's a much more peach skin sort of feel rather than the other side, which is slightly more duller. The gabardine fabric is characterised by the twill weave and the strength of the fabric, so it's incredibly strong material. Now it is non-stretch, so there's no stretch in this whatsoever. You can see there, I mean, you can just tell by that how strong this material is. it's a heavier weight, so when you're using things like for the trousers, you know, it's slightly more heavier than say the other two materials, but it makes a great combination for the blazer. Also, because it's a plain fabric, it will work well with other materials, printed materials, so you can use this as an accent or use the pattern fabrics as an accent in whatever pattern you are making. There's not a lot of drape to this material, not a lot of flowy drape. You can see there it's sort of structural, so it will create like an architectural style garment for this pattern. If you are using doing those front seams down the trousers, then you will need to make sure that you press that out really nice and sharply. This will hold that shape. You just need to make sure that you can press out and iron it out really, really well. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget that tailoring can be anything from simply shortening the sleeves to adjusting bust darts, maybe making a more complicated pattern, or changing the fit of a garment. It's always important to do a mock-up and to measure twice and cut once. You can find the links to all these patterns and these fabrics in the description box. If you have any questions or any comments, please do leave them in the comments box and I will get back to you. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.